slide it. I ain't gotta hide it. There's one word, book talk, that comes to my mind when I think of One Piece after finishing books 2 and 3 of a 35, 36 book journey. Addicting. With a capital A, addicting. Like I already have the next 3 or 4 books reserved at the library for me to pick up. I'm going to try my best to read all of these exclusively from the library. I'm going to try. Listen, I thought book 1 was a great introduction, right? Like, great introduction into this world, great introduction to these characters. You get to book 2, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a lot more depth in this than I thought it would be in terms of these characters and some of their emotions and what they've been through in their past. And then I got to book 3, and I'm like, I have a new favorite character. I have a new favorite character. There was a point in book 3 where I'm like, am I getting a little bit emotional here? What is going on? I was just expecting like a fun read, just like a fun read. And then I get to book 2 and book 3. And I'm sitting here like, I'm having fun, but why am I sitting here on my couch, like getting a little bit emotional at some of the writing in here? And we are going to go into spoilers in a little bit here, in a little bit, not right now, in a little bit. But if you haven't read One Piece yet, if you haven't even thought about reading One Piece yet, I highly recommend, because I just started. I'm going to check back in a few months, and I'm sure it's not going to be as emotional as it was in book 3 and with a new favorite character. I'm sure I have another favorite character, but if you haven't read it, you should. You should. Also, before going to spoilers, some of you have been asking, so if you want deeper dives into my One Piece journey, it is in my Patreon, in my bio. That's if you want a deeper dive. If you don't, we can just stay here, but if you want a deeper dive into it, it's in my Patreon. But let's go into spoilers. All right, spoilers. So if you haven't read it, spoilers are coming here. But in terms of book 2, I thought it was a nice continuation. So we have Usopp, and we're still in the village. Usopp just figured out that, the butler is actually Captain Kuro, and Captain Kuro is trying to, unalive the Harris. And, I thought it was a great continuation. Again, that's just a nice story. Usopp for me is just okay. But then we get to the restaurant ship, and this is where we get introduced to Sanji, who is now becoming one of my favorite characters. So I thought book 2 was solid. It was a great continuation from book 1. But let's move on to book 3. Now, book 3 is what's really selling me on this series here. Like, the scene with Chef Zeph and Sanji, and he like cuts off his leg just so he can get fed. Like, come on. And then Nami and the like, I'm a believer in this book. I'm a believer in these books, and I will be continuing this series. Again, if you've read this, I will be doing deeper dives on my Patreon if you want to do that. If not, I'll still be here doing this, but this is a great one. This is a great one. Happy reading, everyone.